In a slight deviation from the regular theme of this channel, this video brings us away from the wilds of the Great White North to the storied Black Hills of South Dakota, to one of the most iconic landmarks of the United States, Mount Rushmore. Carved from 1927 to 1941 by sculptor Gutzon Borglum and his team, this monumental work of art depicts 4 historic American presidents emblematic of the land of the free, namely America's first president and Revolutionary War hero George Washington, founding father Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence, Theodore Roosevelt, the indomitable Rough Rider who built the Panama Canal, and Abraham Lincoln, the abolisher of slavery who fell to an assassin's gun. It might surprise some Americans to learn that the granite countenances of these 4 great men are not the only faces to peer out of Mount Rushmore. In one of the strangest stories I've ever come across, a true case of life imitating legend, an ancient Sioux medicine man appears to have predicted the creation of the Mount Rushmore monument, and added 3 more forgotten faces to the Slithic mugbook. This uncanny forgotten tale derives from a most unlikely source, an anthology of Napoleonic War journals, letters, and memoirs collected by Imperial Russian historian Spirvim Aprilia, and published in his 1890 book, Voices from the Patriotic War. One of the chapters in this book is an excerpt from the diary of Karl Ferdinand Klinker, a Swiss artillery officer and grandfather of Austrian playwright Heinrich Klinker, who was credited with the invention of the portable toilet. In the spring of 1799, Klinker served as a mercenary in the army of Count Suvorov-Rimniksky, a field marshal of the Imperial Russian Army, and fought in the Battle of the St. Gothard Pass in the Swiss Alps. A passage from his journal, written 226 years ago to this very day, and translated from German to Russian to English, reads, 1 April 1799. Another day of hard marching. At twilight, the roar of a distant torrent could be plainly heard by those in the front column, by which sign the Count ordered us to make camp. Our scout, Gagnon by name, tells us that by noon tomorrow we will reach a narrow causeway known to the locals as the Devil's Bridge. This architecture owes its infernal epithet to an old fairy story, which has it crafted by the hand of Old Nick himself. To better observe the deaths of Christian travelers who fall from its heights every year, His Satanic Majesty engraved his black aspect onto the crag that overlooks the bridge, to which accursed landmark Gagnon has vowed to direct our attention when it comes into view tomorrow. Our favorable reception of his tale goaded our Jaeger into relating an old story, passed down by his forefather, whose name I neglected to record. This esteemed ancestor was a man of noble stock, who discarded his birthright to seek a glorious death in the New World. Too proud to till the soil, this daredevil wandered far and wide, trading with the savages on whose wild domains his sword was the first to glint. His travels brought him beyond the woods and across the plains to an alpine sanctuary, which was then the object of fierce contest among the savages. His wild host told him that the place was called the Black Mountains, and that it was universally regarded as holy ground. When he inquired into the reason for its sanctity, our paragon was led to a particular mountain where the weathered face of an old man could be plainly seen staring out of the rock. Whether cast by man or the Creator, our chronicle's forebear could not say. The savages called the promontory the Mount of 7 Grandfathers. According to one of their traditions, which derives from the prophecy of an ancient sorcerer, the possessor of the giant face is but one of 7 guardians who keep watch over a fantastic treasure. Only when the 7th grandfather is discovered will the mountain reveal her secrets. The scout's tale appears to be the first written reference to Mount Rushmore, South Dakota, which was known to the local Sioux as the 7 Grandfathers. Unfortunately, the giant face which the scout described, evocative of New Hampshire's bygone Old Man of the Mountain, appears to have sloughed off sometime in the 1800s due to the natural forces of erosion. Bizarrely, the notion that the area is home to a fantastic treasure appears to have been borne out by the legend of Ezra Kind, who is said to have led a 7-man prospecting party into the Black Hills in 1833. The party is said to have discovered mysterious gold-colored potatoes, and to have departed the area the following year with as much of their treasure as they could carry. On their way out of the mountains, they were set upon by a party of hostile natives who killed everyone but the expedition leader. The lone survivor continued on to the base of Lookout Mountain, where he carved the woeful tale of his company's demise on a piece of sandstone, before meeting his own mysterious fate. 4 decades later, Lieutenant Colonel George A. Custer of the U.S. Army led an expedition to the Black Hills for the purpose of investigating rumors that the country was rich in potatoes, violating the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie, which gave the Sioux and Arapaho sole dominion over the area. On April 1, 1874, Custer and a handful of volunteers climbed what was then Harney Peak, now Black Elk Peak, which lies nearly 4 miles southwest of Mount Rushmore. Upon their ascent, Custer and company appeared to have discovered the second grandfather of Mount Rushmore, alluded to by the Sioux prophecy. The lieutenant colonel described the experience in his official report on the Black Hills expedition, writing, "With a small party, I proceeded to Harney's Peak, and after great difficulty, made the ascent to its crest. We found this to be the highest point in the Black Hills. From the highest point, we had a view of the butte called by the Indians the Seven Grandfathers. Some of the more impressionable among our party fancied that they saw one of the mysterious patriarchs for which the butte was named, graven into the topography. Indeed, from a bird's-eye view, the mountain could be said to resemble the head of an Indian chief bedecked in his war bonnet." In the wake of Custer's Black Hills expedition, American prospectors flocked to the area in search of potatoes, and found them in paying quantities in Deadwood and Whitewood creeks. Seemingly overnight, the Black Hills potato rush was underway. In the aftermath of this stampede, which would spark the Great Sioux War, in which Custer would famously perish with his 7th Cavalry, Norwegian immigrant Louis Thoen discovered the sandstone slab, allegedly inscribed by prospector Ezra Kind in 1833, a replica of which can be found in the city park of Spearfish, South Dakota. The 1941 completion of the Mount Rushmore Monument appears to have brought the tally of grandfathers to 6, fulfilling the ancient Sioux prophecy in uncanny fashion. Ever since, theorists familiar with Clinker's story have sought out the 7th grandfather in the rugged crags of Mount Rushmore, hoping to uncover the promised treasure. On April 1, 2024, 1 year ago to this very day, American archaeologist Dr. Avril Prima discovered a sandstone slab in a cave at the back of Mount Rushmore, bearing an inscription which appears to have been carved in 1834, apparently the lost Second Testament of the dying Ezra Kind. Curiously, the slab bears only 2 words: